Welcome to the virtual Parents Information Evening for Year 11. Mr. Clark, Head of Year, and the purpose of this video is to hopefully inform and remind parents of important information and dates for the coming year. I'm now going to pass you over to Mrs. Gould, who's one of our assistant heads who shares responsibility for supporting our year.
The pictures here show our Year 11 and our Year 13 students collecting their results this summer, and the results that they achieved were consistently above or in line with national expectations, and most importantly reflect the positive attitude to learning, hard work and dedication of the students, and also the hard work and dedication of the staff. And clearly it was an unusual year this summer. But you know, the point I want to emphasise is that it's really, really important for the Year 11s to consistently put in their best effort towards their examination results. The key dates this year then, and you'll see that there's a TBC there, so Parents Consultation Evening, which is in November. The format is to be confirmed because it's not going to be face-to-face because of the current restrictions, and we're kind of working on some options at the moment, so we'll confirm to you what format that will be. But the timing of it, there are two parents' evenings for Year 11, which we feel is really important, that there are plenty of opportunities for us to communicate. The first one in November is after the Attitude to Learning reports are issued. So it's a really good opportunity for staff and parents and students to be able to talk about the effort that needs to be put in to achieving the very best in the subjects, and also you know, the strategies that need to be in place. The second Parents Consultation Evening, again, format to be confirmed, is in February, and that is the post mock examination. The mock are currently scheduled for Christmas, around December, and then the Parents' Evening follows that in the new year. And again, I would really urge you to attend both evenings. The timings of them are really key points for us to kind of keep in communication, so that we can maximise the efforts of the Year 11s. And you can see the progress reports there and the into the sixth evening. I take this opportunity, while we've been talking about attitude to learning, just to talk about kind of our expectations for Year 11 students. They should be studying 3 hours an evening. They shouldn't be telling you that they haven't got any work to do, because staff will be setting them homework which will be linked to examination preparation, past papers, knowledge acquisition, practicing skills, but they really do need to build those habits of independent study, because if not now, when? They should be using that extra time to start revising. So, you know, if they're doing an hour and a half homework, then they need to be doing an hour and a half revision on top of that. If they've got 3 hours homework in an evening, then that's fine. They do their homework. That's exam preparation as well. But by starting now, it gives students the opportunity to keep going with the activities that are so important for their mental well-being, seeing friends in groups of 6, no more than 6, you know, spending time with family, exercising, undertaking their hobbies, and by starting now, they build confidence. And when the pressure really starts to kind of build as we head towards the examinations, it takes some of the stress out of the situation. It is a cliche, I say it every year, but the biggest kind of piece of advice that I can give them is, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The earlier that students start to organise themselves and put in regular independent study, the better. And I would take this opportunity as well. I know Mr. Clark's going to mention it later, but social media. I have a year 11 child at home, and over lockdown we relaxed restrictions around social media and gaming, but I have banned gaming in the week, because I feel that what sometimes happens is students will rush through their work so that they get that opportunity. So if you ring fence times where they can access kind of activities like that, then that's kind of almost better, because they're not then rushing their work. They know they're there anyway if they do the work. But I would be encouraging, my advice would be that gaming is an activity that is not so desirable in the week. And then this is a really, really important team. You've got Mr. Clark, Head of Year, who's going to speak to you now. And these are the Year 11 tutors who are supporting your children. And the tutor is the first point of contact for any concerns or questions that you have to raise. So we'll be sharing their emails later on in the presentation, and that you can contact the tutors if you have concerns or you wish to get some advice.
Most of you are familiar with the new grading scale. It's been with us for quite some time now, but in secondary school, GCSEs are now graded from 1 to 9, with grade 9 being the highest possible grade. Grade 4 is considered to be a standard pass, and grade 5 or above is a strong pass. Grades 7 to 9 are equivalent to the old A-star. This is a made-up report. There are animations which make the slide easier to understand. But points to note that target grades have changed, and now they're based on Fisher Family Trust or FFT aspirational grades. The likely to achieve grade assumes that students continue to make current levels of progress, but parents need to look at the difference between the target and aspirational grade, highlighted in green here. The first example shows a student making excellent progress as they are meeting their aspirational targets. The second one in blue, this shows a student making good progress. They're within 1 grade of the target. And finally, the third example shows the student is not making sufficient progress in the subject. And you would have to think about what interventions put in place. Next, I'm going to talk about what ready, respectful, responsible means to your 11 student. Primarily, this is about reflecting on the learning. It's about filling in gaps if they're absent, which is obviously particularly important this year. Reflecting on syllabus lists. All students should have these for the topics that they're studying, and also looking at their RAG rating understanding. So red, amber, green, what areas are strong, weak, and in between, and then working to sort of fill in those gaps. It's about completing practice exam papers. It's about attending revision. I know across the school there's an awful lot of provision offered by teachers, but it's not about what we offer. It's about how much students engage with those opportunities. But it's also about drawing up a revision timetable now. It's too late to leave it until sort of after Christmas. You should be planning your revision timetable from this point. But it's not about sort of taking up all of your time. It's about doing little and often, because if you do that, it will obviously add up to a larger amount. It's about focusing in lessons. It's about not disturbing your own learning or learning of others in this very important year. As you know, teachers have finite time, and so our priority must be in supporting the learning. It's not about dealing with irresponsible behaviour. All teachers, we want to recognise hard work by sending home our R1 code, but equally we're also going to be communicating home where students are not doing what they should be. And what we're asking of you as parents is that you reinforce and support the school behaviour expectations at home. What does ready to learn mean for year 11? Well, it's about arriving on time. A student with the attendance rate of just 90% is missing the equivalent of 1 half day every week of the 4 school weeks over the year. This is a huge amount of time. It means over 5 years, this adds up to half a school year. Research shows that missing 17 days a year or 85 lessons this will lead to a drop of at least one GCSE grade. So it really is important to be in school as much as possible. And obviously, if you're not able to, it's about taking ownership of your learning and trying to fill in those gaps. All teachers will be posting the resources from that day on Google Classroom, and it's down to you to access those and make sure that you're not missing work. What does respectful mean for year 11? Well, as we know, everybody has a right to education, not just the individual, but the whole class. Therefore, you have to respect that. And if you're misbehaving, you're affecting them as well. It's about arriving to lessons with the correct attitude to learning. It's not down to the teachers to sort of cajole you into learning. You should be there. You should be happy to be there. You should be engaged with the learning from the time you enter the classroom, because there is no time for distraction in year 11. What does responsible mean for year 11 students? Well, like I said, it's about owning your learning. It's about going that extra mile. It's about taking the opportunities you're offered. All teachers will be offering revision sessions, I'm sure, whether they be in classroom or online. But it's not about what we offer. It's about how much you engage with it. It's about seeking out teachers for help if you need it. I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Chisnell, who's going to be talking about English in year.
Hello, I'm Mr. Chisnell. I'm going to talk to you about the Year 11 GCSE English course for this year. If we start first of all by looking at the GCSE results for 2018 to 19, you'll see that 81% of the students achieved a grade 9 to 4 in an English GCSE qualification. And this broke down as 73% achieving 9 to 4 in English language, 75% achieving 9 to 4 in English literature, with 8% of our students achieving a grade 9 to 7 in either English language or English literature. If we look now at the breakdown of the exams, you will see that the students will sit 2 exams in English language that are both 1 hour and 45 minutes long. In both exams, the marks are split equally between reading and analysis questions and creative writing, with 50% of the marks for the overall English language GCSE coming from creative writing questions. In English literature, the students will sit 2 exams, and there have been some changes to the exams which are being finalised by the exam boards at the moment. We will be in touch with you as parents to tell you exactly what these changes are, and we'll be relaying this information to the students as well. What we know for sure at the moment is that the Macbeth will be studied by all students as a compulsory text, and there is a possibility that one of the other 3 texts will not be studied in light of the changes made following the school closure. Copies of text cannot be taken into either English literature exam, so students must learn quotes to use in their answers. This is a really important point. What we will do, we will ensure thorough preparation for the exams through regular testing and assessment and through the mock exams. We will offer revision sessions every Monday Blue Week from 3 to 4 o'clock through the year, which all students are welcome to attend. These started on the first Monday of the year, and they will carry on every Monday Blue Week from now on. One-to-one support will be offered to students during morning registration to improve their grades. There will be a consistent focus on exam questions and criteria in lessons, and revision resources and past papers will be provided for students through the year. What we expect students to do. It is essential that students have their own fully annotated copies of the texts to best prepare for the exam. If one of the students maybe has lost their text from last year, I would really recommend them getting a new one and catching up on those annotations as well. We expect students to attend revision sessions to ask their teachers for help to complete extra work in the form of past papers and revision questions, which teachers are always willing and ready to give out to the students. To start going back over the work we did in year 10 now. To approach all lessons with a positive attitude and to complete all classwork and homework to the best of their ability. And it's really important that every student knows exactly what they need to do to improve and the areas they need to focus on in order to achieve this. If any student doesn't know this, it's really important they talk to their teacher about this so they get this information. Parents, please could we ask that you encourage your son or daughter to attend the revision sessions. Do you encourage your son or daughter to complete revision tasks, past papers, or any extra work, and also to ask their teacher for help when they need it? If you have time, it would be really useful if you could test your son and daughter on the quotes from the text we studied last year. As I said, the students can't take their copies of the text in with them to exams. They do need to learn quotes, and the earlier we can start this, the better, and the more testing we can do, the better as well, to get them prepared for this. We're really trying to move away from the idea that a grade 4 is good enough. We want to push the students towards the higher grades. We'd really appreciate it if you could reinforce this message at home.
Good evening, parents, carers and Year 11 students. I hope you're going to join us to watch this evening as well. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mrs. Kennedy and I'm Head of Science at John Colet. So today, what I aim to do is to share my slides with you so that I can explain what science is all about at John Colet, because sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. So before I do that, it would be really good to go back in time to the summer of 2019, which seems to be a long time ago. But this was the last time that our students actually sat their exams. Of course, they were centre assessed grades this year. So in 2019, these are results that we achieved, or our students achieved, in science. And they're pretty good. I have to say, we're well above national average, and we expect all our students to make the same progress this year, if not better. So that's our starting point in terms of students sitting the grades themselves. So let's just explain what the science course actually looks like, because it can be a little bit confusing. There are two possible courses that our students could be entered for. The first is the trilogy course, sometimes called the combined science course, and this is worth 2 GCSEs. And the way that it's calculated is that the biology part of the course, the students do 2/3 of the content. The chemistry part of the course, the students do 2/3 of chemistry. And in physics, they do 2/3 of physics. So when we add those 2/3 all together, that ends up as 2 GCSEs that are 2 science GCSEs made up of biology, chemistry and physics components. Now, if we look over at the Triple Science Award, that means the separate sciences, biology, chemistry and physics, a lot of it overlaps with the combined. The difference is the biology award has an extra 1/3 compared to this biology content. So the students on the Triple Science course will be awarded 3 separate GCSEs, 1 for biology, 1 for chemistry, and 1 for physics. Both courses, students can be entered for the foundation tier and the higher tier. And both courses give a possibility of a grade 1 all the way up to a grade 9. The difference being that there will be a separate grade for each of the separate sciences. So a student could get an 8 in biology, a 6 in chemistry and a 9 in physics. Whereas with the combined science course, they're given 2 grades. They could be given 8/8, 8/7, 7/7, etc. The grades will be close to each other. On this course, you would not be given an 8 and a 5. So it's on a sliding scale. So in terms of the exam papers that the students will be sitting in June, both courses, you have to sit 6 exams. With the combined science course, the length of the exams are 1 hour 15 minutes each. And on the Triple Science course, the length of the exams are 1 hour 45 each, which takes into account that extra little bit of content. So what are we going to do to support your children? Well, first of all, we are running revision sessions every Thursday on a blue week from 3 to 4. And we will be linking this very closely to the revision rota that we will be providing students to support their independent learning at home. Of course, We want them to attend that revision because 1 hour with a science teacher is worth 3 or 4 hours of revision independently on their own. And we can guide them, and it gives them an opportunity to ask lots of questions and to tell us where they're struggling, and we can fill those issues. On a Red Week, we are going to post another revision lesson so that students can access it from the Google Classroom. So Blue Thursday in school on revision, Red Thursday, there will be an accessible revision hours worth of work on the Google Classroom. We are monitoring and tracking the students very carefully. Anyone that seems to be needing a little bit of extra support, we will provide some little intervention groups. And that includes those students who are higher prior attaining students who appear to be cruising. They should be getting 7s and they're currently on 5s with minimal amounts of work. So we're going to be looking very closely at students right across the range. And of course, we will be making sure that we feed back on topics, including the topics that were carried out during lockdown, so we have no worries there. We will be finishing the courses normally by February half term, but of course we're going to make sure we are recapping and recalling for those students with the little gap break we had during lockdown. So we will more likely finish in March, but that still gives us absolutely plenty of time to complete the course plus revision work for those students. Before the GCSEs, they usually have a specialised rota, which means the students come in just before the GCSEs. I would give them a little warm-up session just to get them really thinking about their courses before they go and sit their exam. And of course, once we know what they will be doing, I will advise on revision books, past papers, revision cards that will be available to purchase from us at a much reduced rate because we buy in bulk. We do not decide on which course students are entered for until the end of January, and we take a huge number of things into account. 11XT and 11YT are students that we possibly think could be very successful at the separate sciences. However, not all of those students will be entered for those. It will depend on which course we think will give the students the best outcome. So what we mean by a revision programme, this should be very, very familiar to all Year 11 students. I designed this so they've got half an hour to 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the topic itself, every night. And the revision sessions on a Thursday will match the revision on this rota as well. And we, of course, will be having taster exams the week before half term, just as a little practice before they do their mock exams in November. And the topics we're going to be concentrating on are predominantly those topics that we did during lockdown. So just to give everybody a little bit of confidence, make sure you're feeling that you are not worried about anything that you may have been doing on your own. I will tell you exactly what's going to be in those taster exams, as in the topics, and as I say before, they will link to those revision sessions we're doing. So what we expect students to do, well, first of all, they need to be engaged and fully participating in all science lessons, and they need to be doing this to the best of their ability. It is no good turning up to every revision session under the sun unless they're actually working hard in class. Get organised. A little bit of revision every night. Perhaps, you know, we've got to do some kind of timetable at home. So you've got your core subjects and you've got your options, but really you should be doing some kind of revision every night now. Make sure your homework assignments are done, including those that are set online. Lots of homework is going to be set on the Google Classroom. It needs to be done to a high standard, to the best of your ability. If there's a problem, you don't just write, sorry, miss, sir, I couldn't do that, I didn't know. You look it up using GCSE Pod, Caboodle, YouTube clips, looking at your class notes. There are lots of things there to support you. You just need to be proactive. Obviously, after school revision sessions, which we've actually always talked about, bringing their own equipment, especially a red pen. We'll be marking things in class and we expect the students to be able to do their corrections so that we can actually see where we need to intervene if there's any difficulties. Google Classroom is going to play a huge role this year, and really you need to get into a routine. The thing you need to understand is your teachers really do want to support you, Year 11. We are working very hard on your behalf, and it's a lot easier to go on a journey when someone's walking with you than if you're dragging them or pulling them along. So if we walk in the same direction together, it will be a much better experience for everybody, and we'll get there in the end. Okay, so what are we going to ask parents to do? Well, help the students get organised. They've probably got into a few bad habits, lots of late nights, lots of social media, etc. That really needs to be reined back in now. Not saying don't have it, but in the week, you've really got to work hard on a schedule and a routine so students are getting back to the best they can be. Students often don't see revision as homework. Quite often they'll say, I haven't got any homework tonight. In Year 11, you should be doing at least 1 hour of revision every night on top of homework. Please don't leave your student or your child to just say, yes, I've handed it in. Please get them to talk about their homework. Please have a look and see what they're handing in. If you look at it, you don't have to be a specialist. You know, some people don't like science in terms of, I'm not sure about that. Don't be nervous. You can see the standard that her student has reached just by the presentation and the amount they've done quite often. Coming into school, being in all the revision classes, being in class is a massive thing. And if you can sort of support your students with purchasing past papers, revision books and revision cards, that will be good. The final thing I would like to say is really trust us, because we really want the best for your students. Tier entry decisions, when we come to do them in terms of January time, quite often there's a little bit of conversation between all of us, but we will have lots of data, lots of information and lots of experience to get your son or daughter the best grades they can possibly be. So to work together is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to some really, really good results this year. Thanks for listening, and any questions, get in contact with me.
Hello, I'm Amy Passero, Head of Maths at John Colet, and I'm going to talk to you about mathematics here in Year 11. So on the screen are our 2018-19 GCSE results, and these have been consistent for a number of years. In terms of the exam details, each student has been given a coloured checklist for their exercise books. So there are purple ones for higher and there are blue ones for foundation. And on here it does tell you that the exam board we use is Edexcel. I've talked to the students about this as well, but in terms of the content for maths, the content is exactly the same for whichever exam board. So if you do want to use resources that have AQA on them, that's absolutely fine, because those resources will have exactly the same content. In terms of the tiers, there are two different tiers in maths. So the foundation tier covers grades 5 to 1 topics, and you'll notice that from the revision checklist. And then the higher covers the 9 to 4 content. And on the screen, you'll see the groups that are doing those particular tiers. Those tiers will stay as they are. Then the students will do their Year 11 mock exams. And then we will review that because we want the students to get the best possible grade, and sometimes that means changing the tier. Paper 1 is a non-calculator paper. Paper 2 and 3 are calculator paper. So all of these papers are 90 minutes long, but you can see that there's a stronger emphasis on using a calculator. So what will we do? We'll offer weekly maths revision sessions. Those have already started. It was brilliant to see so many students there on the 9th of September. And these will be used for consolidating knowledge. So making sure that students are able to answer questions on surds, for example, or on quadratic equations. But really, it's in the lesson that we'll be looking at the problem-solving stuff, those odd, unusual questions where it might combine a couple of topics. So for our grades 7 to 9 students, we'll be offering 3-hour 3 3-hour Saturday morning sessions, and they'll be focusing on those graded questions. And as I was saying, we'll really be focusing on the problem solving in lessons. That's the more challenging bit. So we'll be spending some lesson time on those types of questions. Before each of the maths exams, we do a maths warm-up. This is to warm up the students' brains and make sure that the first bit of maths that they've done that day isn't in the exam. So all those silly mistakes or those questions that they might want to ask, they can ask them with their classroom teacher in the classroom. And it also helps us to check equipment and check that the calculators are in the right mode for the exams. We make past papers available for purchase, so those will have come out at Easter time. And we offer small group intervention for students who are needing that extra support, and they will be taken by Karen Whitaker, who is our HLTA. And we'll provide regular feedback. So when students do a past paper, we ensure that we use a coloured tracker sheet so that the students can see which topics are red, so they haven't understood them at all, which topics are amber, they've partially understood them, which topics are green. So that will help them to decide what to do next, but it'll also help the classroom teacher to decide what to do next in terms of if there's a particular red topic for a number of students, that might be covered at the start of a lesson. So what we expect students to do, so attend all the after school revision sessions, and like I said, the absolutely fantastic turnout on the first week. Participate in the Saturday morning sessions, engage with homework to a high standard. I think with year 11, with the pressures that sometimes students just try and tick each homework off, but we want to make sure that the homework's completed to the highest of standards. So for example, with the past paper, to complete all of it and to have a go at all of it. For example, with My Maths, if there is a homework and you've got a red because you've got a low percentage correct, or an amber, you might want to have a second try to try and get that up to a green. Bring all of your maths equipment to every lesson. That's so you're familiar with your equipment, so that it doesn't come to the day of the exam and you've got a brand new calculator and you've no idea how each of the buttons work on that particular calculator. Same with pair of compasses, same with the protractor. It's useful for you to be using your own tools. And arrive to intervention promptly and really participate in the lesson. It's an excellent opportunity. So please, I want students to fully participate. So parents, please, could we ask that you encourage your child to attend the after school revision sessions each week in the maths department. Encourage your child to go to the 3 3-hour Saturday morning sessions. Check that homework is fully completed to a high standard. I don't expect parents to be marking homework. I know that all parents aren't maths teachers, but just to take a glance over it, if there isn't any working out and there's just a list of numbers, it's highly likely that the students rush that homework and it needs to be more time needs to be spent looking at it. To please buy the past paper packs we offer and revision guides. Support any small group intervention that we do. Check that your child has the right maths equipment in their bag. Check your emails for up-to-date information on the revision sessions and interventions that we offer. Here are the revision guides we really like. So the one on the left is more of a general revision guide. One on the right really targets certain grades, and both are really good and both are available on Amazon. Here are some websites that we frequently use and the students probably use in lessons as well. But these offer good places to revise, watch videos, trial questions, check solutions, and really make sure that they are revising all the topics on those checklists that are in their books. Thank you very much.
Successful revision program in 2019, students will be invited to attend a bespoke revision timetable during the external exam season, but there will be more details to follow after Christmas. As you can see, we always have very positive feedback from the revision that is offered, but the key thing with the revision program is not just attending, but it's engaging with it. There's no point being sitting there staring at a wall. You must engage with what is on offer. And obviously it's about maximising your GCSE grades. It's about quality first teaching and quality first learning. you shouldn't rely on the revision program. You should be engaging with it first time round, and you should build in regular reviews of lessons. You should be going through sort of the notes that you create. You should be highlighting, you should be rereading, you should be making spider diagrams. Most homework in year 11 will be revision or examination questions. Everything is building towards obviously your exams, which will be next summer. And you should be doing at least 1 hour per day from now. If you're not, then you need to obviously start with that. You're lucky in many ways. It is the new age of revision. There's an absolute wealth of resources online for you to access. There's online video reviews. Obviously, YouTube is an excellent resource if you search for the right stuff. There's lots and lots of podcasts, GCSE Pod as a starting point, and also BBC Bitesize. All of these offer bespoke guidance for the exams that you are sitting, and should be accessed. It's also about techniques. It's key to develop your own revision strategies. It's not simply about rereading. It's about doing something with the knowledge. It's about making your brain use the knowledge again, revisiting it, and a guide on simply how to revise can be brought as well. It's a really, really good idea to get practicing working for 2 hours, book-based revision and past papers close to the exam length, because your exams will undoubtedly be around that time. Therefore, you need to be able to concentrate and work and produce high quality work for 2 hour duration. An excellent book to buy is CGP How to Revise, which is about £2.20 when you order it through Parent Mail. So it's really good value. Some advice: you should aim to do little and often, as I said earlier, every night, to ensure they do not panic near the time of exams. If they tell you have nothing to do, well, it's simply not the case. If you're not being provided with work, then you can be looking over it yourself. You can do this on Google Classroom. You can be looking over lesson resources that have been shared. And again, a really, really helpful activity for you to do is to create a revision timetable together. This should include revision sessions held after school. It's important for students to build in some free time. If you've got extracurricular activities, it's important that you still do those. It's good to sort of unwind and not think about school as well. But like I said, it's important to manage your stress. Again, it's important to decide with your child where they're going to be doing their revision. It should be away from distractions or away from technology. Obviously, if you're using your computer for revision purposes, that's great. But if you've got the apps that are a distraction, then maybe take those off your phone for a short time, or use a desktop that doesn't have them. Praise and encouragements as you tick off revision tasks, and talking about it. If they can explain it to you, then generally they understand it, and that's a really good tester. Make sure they have resources they need, the examination boards they're sitting as well. But anything you're not sure of, then obviously then you communicate that with us. I'll give you some contact details later. When your child is finding it difficult, talk to them about the issues, acknowledge the feelings, and adopt a sensible attitude in wanting to find a solution. There's lots of ways of doing things. Be flexible. Use the 80-20 rule. If your child is sticking to what they're doing 80% of the time, then they're doing all right. If your child asks for support, encourage them by helping them to see the difficulties in perspective. This year will be over. This is a small part of their life. Teachers often take an all or nothing catastrophic approach to difficulties. I've messed up this essay, I might as well give up. Well, it's simply not the case. Encourage them to speak to their teachers. Learn from it, okay? Even if you get a bad grade this time, it doesn't mean that that's going to happen next time. You learn from it, you take the advice, and you improve. Reassure them that anxiety around exams is normal. I think most people feel an anxiety about exams. They're quite stressful. Like I said, YouTube is excellent. There's lots of educational videos on the site which will help explain complex ideas. It's really good to know sort of the right key terms, knowing your exam boards like AQA and also the module, and then any sort of associated topics. It's highly likely that there'll be videos associated with those topics. Learning with them is really good as well. Reading through the revision books to see what's changed since you were at school. This could act as a great conversation starter, but it also helps them to test things as well. Also, mixing things up, using different techniques in your revision is quite good. And again, it's sort of stimulating your brain to think of things in different ways, which will make them hopefully remember things a bit better. Unifrog is a tool that students have been hopefully well aware of and been using. But it's about thinking about what you're going to be doing after GCSEs and late E-levels. It's building up a CV. Again, this is something that is good. It's making you reflect on what you've achieved. And like I said, it's something that they should be aware of already. There's an awful lot of information on the John Colet website, but one of the most important ones is under the parents section. There's a diary which tells you everything that's going on in school, but most importantly, I think, is the student well-being and advice section. This contains a huge amount of topics, links to other websites, and advice on issues that students face every single year. So it's a really good first point of contact if you're having concerns about something. Questions about exams. Mrs. Tipping is the examinations officer for our school, so she deals with all sort of exam entries from the school. She organises it every year. There's also the NEA, or the non-examined assessment, which is essentially coursework. You can maximise what you control. So focus on these things. You complete them before the exam. So do as much work and put as much effort into them as you can. Subjects like art, computing, ICT, PE, photography, technology, textiles, and graphic products. Break down into small sections and time management. It's about managing your time, and that's why sitting down with your children is a really good idea to manage their time. It's quite hard to do. And particularly to have that long view. Mock exams, treat these as serious as you can. They're a dry run, but if you put in as much effort as you can the first time round and things go badly, then obviously you can work on that. You can learn from that. But the rules obviously do apply. Plagiarism, copying, and what can be taken into hall is all very strict. And if you have sort of any questions about sort of exam access arrangement, then please obviously do contact Miss Tipping. Special considerations, extra time, readers, scribes, things like that, she will look at. She'll also discuss timetables, attendance and absence from exams. Even though obviously the exams seem like they're the main event for this year, we do have to think about what we're going to be doing after GCSEs, and for many of you, we hope you'll be coming back and joining us in the sixth form. From the opportunity to progress into the sixth form to study A-level or BTEC courses. The sixth form area JCS website provides lots of information, but we would encourage students to come and talk to members of staff. And a lot of teachers teach sixth form. Talk to year 12 and 13 students, socially distanced, of course, or Miss Fancy, and find out about the opportunities that we have post-16 study and the benefits of attending this school. Other offers. The sixth form offers students high quality teaching in small class sizes across a range of subjects. Dedicated study spaces, access to Chromebooks, also a vibrant speaker and external visitor program, as well as a comprehensive 4C curriculum, which develops vital skills and character. There's also leadership opportunities within the whole school, not just as head boy and deputy head boy, but also other things as well. There's also extracurricular visits and activities, and the opportunity to participate in World Challenge expedition, obviously COVID aside. And there's also a lively and helpful careers and employer engagement program. So you can thinking again past, post 16 study, and think about whether you want to go to university. And there's also knowledgeable and experienced pastoral team to support them. Key dates in the sixth form application process, things to keep in mind. But as I said, like all of these are on the school website under the parents section. But things to keep in mind even at this point. Year 11, regarding prom, obviously ideally this is something that we would like to put on, but at the moment we're still taking this into consideration, and we will confirm this when we have more information. But as Year 11 students, we will have leavers hoodies, and this is something that the Year Council will be looking at. But these usually cost around £25 to £30. We'll try to keep the cost as low as possible. We'll also do a celebration assembly. This was a really positive celebration of the students' time at John Colet, and we've also considered things like a year group yearbook for the year as well, which would be a nice keepsake for students when they leave. Communication is obviously really important. At various times throughout the year, we're going to send you messages. Hopefully they're for good reasons. But if you receive in-touch emails, do not reply to them. The responses would go straight to a sort of centralized system, and the teachers would never get them. So we don't want you to feel that you're being ignored. So please respond either to the named member of staff in the communication, or if you're unsure, then your first port of call, first port of communication is the form tutor for your student, which is listed here. If you're still unsure, then obviously please do get in contact with myself. My email's at the top here. It's lclark@johncolet.co.uk.